We've got barbecue back here. You're all invited. Welcome to the Sloopcast. How are you doing today, Kyle?
Fantastic, Jared. Ohio State football is here.
It is here, and this is in fact Know Your Enemy. This is the show where we get to know our enemy. And Kyle, who's the enemy this week?
Who? You mean the Hoosiers? Yeah. Indiana.
Friend to me.
We get to start with Indiana this year.
Indiana's not my friend. I'll just say it. Like they're not. I don't know if I'd call them an enemy. Really, like I don't spend much time thinking about Indiana. And you might be wondering, Jared, are you talking about the football team or the state? Yes.
Yes.
Definitely not our rival. Like not even tongue in cheek, not our rival. Just straight up. Who cares?
But yeah, Indiana here, Jared. Ohio State starting the season off on the road to Bloomington, Indiana, and yeah, let's waste no time. Let's waste no time here. So Indiana Hoosiers had a great start to the season last year. Started 3-0. Had a big win in their first game last year against Illinois. But then that's kind of where it stopped. They then went 1-8 to finish the rest of the year. Did you say
great win against Illinois?
Yes.
I know Illinois wasn't bad last year, but that sentence just doesn't make sense in my head.
Oh no. But yeah, let's get to know Indiana here, Jared. And yeah, they lost a lot of talent. They had some quarterbacks.
Talent.
Yes, yes, I know, Jared.
This is know your enemy, not know your team that we're nice to.
They had two quarterbacks that transferred out, and then their third quarterback, Dexter Williams, who Buckeye fans should know from last year, who came in for during the Ohio State Indiana game, is still out with that non-contact knee injury that he suffered against Purdue last year. But a lot of people will look at this and like, oh, is this that Indiana where they may put up a lot of yardage and maybe put up a scare in the first half against Ohio State? No. This is not the same kind of Indiana that we've seen in previous years. Listen. This is going to be pretty much like what we saw last year. It's just going to be a big blowout, and then you're going to see a lot of second string, potentially even third string players come into this game.
Nomad is offering to start for Indiana at quarterback. I assume you still have eligibility, right?
Well, that's the question. Who is going to be the starting quarterback for Indiana? We now know who the starting quarterback is for Ohio State, but who is it for Indiana? Most likely it's looking like
it's Kyle McCord.
Yes, of course. It's Kyle McCord. We've been saying that.
We have been saying this.
So most likely for Indiana, it's going to be Traven Jackson, who is the 4-star quarterback that committed to Tennessee, redshirted last year, transferred this year to Indiana, and most likely is going to get the starting role there.
Buckeye Esquire, better question. Who is Indiana's kicker? Jackson. John Johnson. They're in a heated.
Johnson.
It's Jack Jackson and John Johnson. They're in a heated battle, and we might not know until the opening kickoff. What's everyone drinking? Excitement for football. That's what I'm drinking.
There you go. There's who your kicker is.
Yeah. That's what I said. Nicholas Reddick. Nicholas Reddick. That's a hockey player. That is not a kicker. That's a hockey player.
All right, but I'll tell you one person that Ohio State really should look out for is Josh Henderson. I think Josh Henderson is a very good running back.
Yeah.
very good. And when he's had the chance to touch the ball, he's actually done pretty decent last year. But the downside is the offensive line that he's going to be running behind. Not that good. 4 of their 5 returning starters are back this year. And newsflash, Jared, they were not that good last year.
Kyle literally wrote in our notes as he was researching Indiana, the exact phrasing that Kyle put in the notes, and I cackled the first time I saw this. 4 returning starters on the O-line, but they weren't good. That tells you what you need to know. In response to Nicholas Radikic, Buckeye Esquire says he's definitely not a member of NATO. Yeah. Probably not.
So Indiana did hit the transfer portal pretty hard this year, and some other notes that maybe keep an eye out for. Defensive back Jameer Johnson, a junior transfer from Texas who used to be a 4-star recruit. And a name that I think is going to really surprise people, I think this year, maybe not this weekend, but this year, is their senior transfer wide receiver from Fordham, DeQuincy Carter. He had a really, really good season last year, over 1,000 yards receiving, 13 touchdowns. It's a name to keep out for. Now, will he do well against Ohio State? Maybe not, but definitely something to keep an eye out for.
Yeah. They're, like we kid and we joke about Indiana, but there are good players on this team. There's just not enough good players on this team. If we're being honest about it, a lot of people remember Deshaun McCullough, who, everyone thought was coming to Ohio State to play linebacker. He's not on this team anymore. He transferred to Oklahoma. I was in response to what Chop Daddy was asking in the chat there. There are good players on this team. There aren't enough good players on this team. If you look at the Big Ten, I think there are 3 teams who are a cut above everyone else. That is Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State. I think those 3 teams are a cut above everyone else in the league this year. And I think there are 3 teams who are in the cut below. And I think Indiana is one of those teams in that cellar. It's them, it's Northwestern, and it's Rutgers. Are living in the cellar of the Big Ten right now. Got my money on the Fighting Fits at Northwestern. Oh, hey, I know you've been gone for a minute, Nomad. I got news.
Sell.
I got news for you. Yeah, about the Fighting Fits.
So
Did he leave?
Name.
No matter, are you screwing with me right now? Okay.
The other name to keep an eye out for, who led the team last year in tackles, was linebacker Aaron Casey. It had 85 tackles last year. That's about it, honestly. I think he's an okay linebacker, but yeah, now coming back as a senior this year, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how he does.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's probably like the unquestioned leader. I'll say this: they have a good. I don't know if they have like a spectacular defensive tackle on this team, but they have a really good roster of defensive tackles. They're very deep at defensive tackle. They'll have, I would say, a good rotation of a lot of, like I said, like a lot of good players at the defensive tackle position. Again, there's not a Mike Hall among the group, but they're probably 4, 5, 6 guys deep at defensive tackle, just like good talent at defensive tackle. So something else to keep an eye on.
Yep.
It's probably one of the few positions on the roster where you can say like they have depth, where they have like rotational depth, and it's a good thing. If they're rotating that depth because it's good, not because who cares.
Mm-hmm.
Are they still Leoing, or did that end in 2020? Love each other, not the Knowles position. I don't know. I've not been keeping up on my Indiana lore, if I'm being honest with you. Indiana has a good rubs shins and deep thought. Nope, that does no.
So here's the question: is there anything Indiana can do to make this close?
Pray?
They are playing at home. They do have home field advantage.
We'll touch the rock. That's a thing they do, right? They're one of the touch the rock teams.
They are. Yep.
Okay. There's like 24 touch the rock or a sign or something.
Just like there's like 24 memorial stadiums.
Oh, but that doesn't apply to Indiana, does it? Yes, Kyle, I know.
It does.
Yeah, I know. Oh, Indiana.
So what else about this? It's
Notre Dame plays football in Indiana, Kyle.
It's true.
That's as close as of a compliment I could get to the Hoosiers.
I just think really this might be the worst Indiana roster wise that I've seen in quite a while. It's been really, really bad.
Yeah. No, this is Indiana. Like we saw Indiana sort of creep up the rankings there for a minute. I think it was only a couple years ago we were talking about, could Indiana be like the 4th best team in the East, which is saying something, I would say, and we're not at that point anymore.
I mean, we were 3 years ago, 2020. This was an Indiana team that went 6-2 with wins over Penn State, Michigan State, and Wisconsin.
Does 2020 count?
It still counts. It's count as wins. But looking back there, like Penn State, Michigan State, Wisconsin, you're like, those are good wins for 1 year at Indiana. And then 2021, they only had 2 wins. Last year they had 4 wins. Yeah, it's going to be tough it's going to be a tough season for Indiana.
Yeah, again, I think there's a bottom 3 teams in the Big Ten, and Indiana is very firmly in that discussion. I would say tied with Rutgers, with Northwestern being clearly the worst team.
Mm-hmm.
Fair assessment? I'd say so.
Yep. Buckeye Esquire, will a true freshman score for Ohio State in this game?
Odds are decent.
Yeah, odds are decent, yeah.
Because, I think Ohio State's going to... Let's talk a little bit more about Ohio State. Kyle McCord announced today for us, we're recording this on Tuesday. Today for us, Kyle McCord named the starter. There seems to be enough wishy-washy language to indicate that Devin Brown will still be getting not just snaps, but like competitive game snaps.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me think that Ohio State might play their offense a little bit later in this game than maybe they would otherwise. They're going to try and get the quarterbacks out there, see what they do in a game situation in front of a crowd. So, we'll see what happens. And I think if you're testing out your quarterbacks, I think that increases the likelihood that maybe Brennan Innes, I think, would maybe be the first name I'd reach out to if we're talking about a freshman touchdown. Potentially, take one to the house. So I would say decent.
I think so. Especially, I think if you want a name of who's going to score that, perhaps for me, Jared, I do
Other
like
than Ennis?
other than Ennis. I like what Woody in our chat said here about Cornell Tate. I think
Sure.
I think maybe you want to put Marvin Harrison Jr. out there for that long, and then his backup it would be Cornell Tate. Maybe he'll see the field a lot to give more opportunities to make some plays there. So I really like that name there.
What is the most number of players to have rushing touchdowns in a single game? Asking in advance for Jerry Emig. I don't know the answer to that question, but it would probably be some sort of weird game where like two of the quarterbacks ran it in and a receiver, and probably something. Normally takes something weird like that for that to happen.
Yep.
My bad.
Anything
Styles
else?
should be a yes. Styles should be a freshman.
Anything else here, Jared? Before we go into our questions and then our picks here for the game.
Sure. I don't know. Just before we get in, what are you just hoping to see from Ohio State? First game. This is it. It's been a long off season. We get to watch Ohio State play. Consistency is an answer from Nomad. I like that answer.
Said it right. Yep.
What are we looking for? And you guys can be as specific as you want. Kyle, and welcome, Kabuto. Kyle, be as specific or as vague as you want. Guys in the chat, I want to hear your responses as well. What do you want to see from Ohio State this weekend? I think that's my question.
Well, while we're waiting for some people to answer here, Jared, one big thing that
a shutdown defense, says Woody.
I like that. One thing that we haven't even mentioned, Jared, one thing that we haven't mentioned, and a lot of people made a lot of comments in week 0 games, it's the running clock. Like how much would the running clock actually affect Ohio State and their ability to run plays here? Like we're used to Ohio State just doing the quick offense here and barely using up any time. And how is that going to affect them this year?
I mean, it's not going to affect them from that standpoint. I think where it could affect them, and this could be an issue with Notre Dame, who we saw has a good offensive line and a good stable of running backs, at least when playing in Ireland. We'll see if that translates to Indiana. But I think what is interesting is if you have Ohio State and you have this high-powered offense and you like to move quick and yada, 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 what happens when you face a team like Notre Dame or a team like Michigan who might try and just time of possession you straight off the field?
Mm-hmm.
And Indiana's not going to be able to do that. Indiana does not have the offensive line to do that. So I don't think that's an issue for me in this game. But the running clock, I think, is definitely something that can work against Ohio State when facing a team that's potentially capable of running you to death. Again, I think that'll be an interesting thing to watch through college football this weekend. Although I don't necessarily see that becoming a huge thing specifically in this game. Defensively, whatever you want, Zach. Are you wearing the cocaine whites on our CBS debut? No. I think we're wearing them. We're doing grays. The alternatives are grays this year. If they announce an all white uni, I know they have announced an all gray uni. I don't know if we have a good nickname for those yet, though.
Yeah,
I'm sure
that's right, Jared.
Teams have practiced against the running clock since spring. Yeah, no, it's just a new tweak to the rules that will change game planning. That's it. It'll be. I don't necessarily think it's going to throw teams off. Like I don't think it's going to cause like a bunch of time of possession penalties or anything like that. But it's a new wrinkle that can affect how coaches, especially more conservative, defensive, run-minded coaches, might manage football games. Chop Daddy says he wants to see what the offensive line can do. I'm with you on that. I'm very with you on that. When we get into our predictions, you'll see that we are lockstep on that one.
Yep. All right, well, let's jump right into that then, Jared.
Sure.
All right, so this week, our guest picker is Woody in our Discord here. So for those who have not listened to any of our Know Your Enemies, we're gonna go ahead and answer a few questions here. Ohio State player to watch, enemy player watch, key matchups, pick the spread, who the winner is, and our final score as well. And we have somebody in our Discord who plays along here. They send us their picks and anything they want to say in there as well. And yeah, it's a lot of fun here. So let's jump right into that, Jared. So the first one here is Ohio State player to watch. A lot of names to pick from, a lot of excitement of who's going to step up. Obviously the big one could be the quarterback, could be Kyle McCord, could be one of the number of wide receivers or the defense here. Who do you got, Jerry?
Going with Josh Simmons, aka Jimmy Simmons. He got the nod to left tackle. I think Kyle and I think a lot of people, Kyle and I included, really expected Josh Simmons to be right tackle and Josh Fryer to be left tackle. They saw something in Josh Simmons. Let's just say Simmons. They saw something in Simmons that decided that they wanted him at left tackle. The fear, of course, is that maybe they saw something in Fryer that they didn't want Fryer at left tackle. I think that's a fear. So the question is, does Simmons get moved to left tackle out of desperation or out of choice? Like, was this a preferential move or a desperate move? And I don't know. I don't know that Indiana has the horses to really test him. As far as there's not like a peak edge rusher on this football team for Indiana, but my eyes will be on the tackles, probably especially Jimmy Simmons, Josh Simmons, but I'm going to be watching the offensive tackles a lot.
As you typically do, Jared.
You're not wrong.
All right, mine, I'm going on the other side here. I'm going to go with everybody's favorite linebacker, Tommy Pickles Eichenberg. I think in order for Indiana to do well, they're going to have to be able to run the ball against Ohio State, and I think Tommy Eichenberg will be up for the challenge there to keep Henderson in check.
Enemy player to watch, Kyle. Who do you have?
Josh Henderson. I'll go with Josh Henderson as my player to watch here.
Do you feel like you said enough about Josh Henderson earlier? Is that why you're?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I don't need to say any more. Yeah, he's a really good running back. If he succeeds, Indiana will score some points.
There you go. I mean, I like Henderson. I don't know if Henderson, I don't know if his success is completely in his own hands as far as the Indiana offensive line goes.
Sure.
I'm going with Aaron Casey. Kyle talked a bit about Aaron Casey before. One of the only leading production guys from Indiana's defense returning this year. Led the team in tackles last year. They're redoing a lot of they just did not return many guys on that defense at all. Mm-hmm. The strength of the defense will be Aaron Casey, and like I said, a good crew of defensive tackles. But I'm going to go with Aaron Casey.
It's kind of funny. Last year, I picked Aaron Casey as my player to watch for Indiana.
Did you?
I did, yeah. He ended up with 10 tackles, 6 of them solo, and a tackle for loss last year.
That was a good day.
It was. In a 56-14 blowout.
I mean, it sounds like he had lots of opportunities to get tackles. It doesn't sound like he got a chance to rest much.
Yeah, that was when both Mine Williams and Dalen Hayden, I cannot talk, Hayden, ran the ball a lot in that game.
Yep.
All right, key matchup, Jared. I kind of have a feeling where you're going with this, but I'll let you go at it.
So I'm going to switch it up a little bit. We were talking about the offensive tackles on our players to watch. You know, name drop Josh Simmons for me. But if I'm looking at a key matchup, I'm looking maybe more groups. I've talked a lot about how Indiana has a really good interior roster of defensive tackles. So I'm looking at Ohio State's interior offensive line, who is, for the most part, more experienced than the offensive tackles. Although, do we have is Carlos Hinsman officially the center yet? I feel like we've just all been sort of waiting for, yes, I'm getting multiple yeses. Carson, thank you. Carson Hinsman. I both got multiple yeses and a correction on his first name. I don't even know what I said. Guys, what did I even say?
You're going to talk about your key matchup here.
No. How I said Carlos? Weird. Carson Hinsman. Why would I say Carlos? Carson Hinsman. It's just funny. Like I got 2 people immediately pointing out that I said the wrong thing. I'm like, what did I even, like, if I wasn't recorded, I'd swear I didn't. Anyway, yes, I've been drinking. I'm actually super sober right now because I'm trying to lose weight. The interior offensive line, again, we have a brand new center, experienced guards, but again, Indiana's like one of the few places where they have like good quality depth is at the defensive tackle position. So you'll see some guys rotate in there, and we'll see what Hinsman can do, and we'll see if the guards are as ready as we hope they are.
In mine, I'm going to be boring here because it's hard to really. My answer really, Jared, is just Ohio State being consistent and just not having these mental breaks during the game where it's false starts or drop passes or missed assignments or whatever.
I don't see how that's a matchup, though, if I'm being honest with you.
I know. Really, it should be Ohio State versus themselves, but
okay, I'll give you that. Okay. Okay, I'll give you that.
But I'll just pick it.
But I will say you get one of those this year, and you just used it.
I'm not going to use it in this game here. I'm just going to pick it. It's Josh Henderson, Indiana's running back versus Ohio State's defensive line here. Like, can they keep Henderson under 4 yards a carry here? I think if they can hold him under 4 yards, he's going to it'll be really successful for this defense. Last year they did held him to under 4. He had 3.6 yards per carry. So if they can do that again, I'd be happy.
All right, Kyle. Here comes the part everyone's waiting for. Our last 3 predictions. The spread pick, Ohio State, according to our CBS Sports Pick'em, is minus 28.5. So we will be picking against the spread. We will be picking the winner, and we will be picking the final score. But Kyle, before we do that, let's hear from Woody. Woody is our guest picker this week. He has he picked our if anyone's new to the Sloopcast, we do 2 episodes at the second half of the week on game weeks. This is Know Your Enemy. Tomorrow will be the Sloop picks. The Sloop picks will pick 6 additional games against the spread. Woody is our guest picker this week. So he's picking this game, and he'll be picking 6 more games on our next episode. So Woody's introduction here. He's going to take the Buckeyes, even if it's 30 points. Who takes the first snap will not matter. Henderson and the Buckeyes defense will be the stars of the contest. Buckeyes win, going away 51-10. 51-10. That's an easy cover.
That is an easy cover here. So we locked on our spread at 28.5, which is we followed the CBS Sports Pick'em, and that's when they locked them in, was at 28.5. And as we're recording here, Jared, it's up to 30.5 now.
That is not a surprise. I mean, we joke, we kid, yada yada yada. But this Indiana team is very, very talent deprived. That's the nicest way I can say that. All right, Kyle. Are you picking Ohio State to cover 28.5 points?
I am. Yes, I am.
Okay. So then obviously you're picking them to win.
I am.
If you're picking them to cover, you're picking them to win.
I have my final score: Ohio State 55, Indiana 7.
And I have, keeping with tradition, even if Spike's kind of stole my thunder in the chat already. And if you don't know the tradition, do the math. Ohio State 59, Ohio State 10. Although I think it's more likely to be 59-0 if I'm being honest. But let's go 59-10 because tradition, damn it.
Yes. All right, Jared. Anything else before we move away from here and answer some of our Sloopcast questions?
Yeah, and I think also as tradition, let's start with Austin's over-unders. Remember, Kyle, and by the way, y'all can go find, I think it was either January or February of this year, Austin keeps track of these and will grade us at the end of the year. So, Kyle, choose wisely.
No pressure, right?
No
right,
pressure.
So
Austin's over-unders, edition at number 1 for the season.
Austin? Where's Austin? He's not even in here.
He was busy tonight.
No excuse. All right, over-unders, week 1 against Indiana. So he has here Trey Henderson, scrimmage yards set at 144.5 yards.
That feels like a lot. He is semi-fresh off of surgery. And I think Trey's going to be great this year. I also think that they have a really deep roster of running backs, and they'll probably spread it out. The one thing that really scares me about picking the under here is that he breaks off like 75 yards in a single play, in which case I feel like I'm screwed as far as picking the under. But I am going to go ahead and pick the under because I feel like Evan Pryor is going to get involved, and I feel like, mine's going to get involved. Like it's just going to, it's just going to be, I think it's going to be spread around a lot in order. It's a little bit, I'm going to go under.
Yeah, same here. Exact same reasons. I think they're going to see a lot of players on the field here. A lot of touches from different players here. The only way I can really see Trey getting that many yards if he breaks two runs.
Or screen. It's a scrimmage yard.
That's true too. All right, next one.
We're doing your over-unders.
Yep. Josh Henderson. 12.5 carries. Over. I'm going to go over on this one.
Kabuto, when I said screen, I was talking about a swing or whatever as well. That's just, it's to the running back. No, I don't like the bubble screens. I'll take a running back screen. If the other team's blitzing, sometimes you got to do a running back screen. It's just the smart thing to do. Josh Henderson carries, I feel like he's like one of their actual offensive weapons, so I want to say over. But also, if they get down, and they probably will get down, like quickly, maybe they go away from the run a bit. Chat's killing me right now. Um, yeah. Henderson. I'm gonna go over, but I'm afraid that because it specifically carries. I wish it was touches. If it was touches, I'd feel better with the over.
Marvin Harrison catches at 6.5. He had 7 last year against the Hoosiers.
I think you have 2 young quarterbacks looking for a safety blanket, and do blankets get any safer than Marv? I'm gonna pick the over. I don't think it's over by a lot. I think it's. I think 6.5 is a lot. 7 or 8, but 6.5, that's a tough number.
That is tough. That is tough. And you talk about a safety blanket. And yes, definitely Marvin Harrison is definitely a safety blanket for any quarterback. But who typically does a new or newer quarterback tend to go to?
The guys underneath, which would lend you to think either a Mecca or Stover.
There it is. Yep, I'm thinking Stover may have some nice catches here, and it seems to be as tradition, Jared. At the start of every year, we always talk about year of the tight end, and
it's always a September game.
And it's always a September game, yes, where it's like Rutgers gets 2 touchdowns in a game, or he gets 3 touchdowns in 2 games. Is this the year? Is this the year?
Never the year. It's always the year, but it's never the year.
Yes. So I'm going to go under. I'll go under with Marv catches at 6.5. Total game turnovers at 3.5. That's a lot.
Yeah, but it's both teams though.
It is.
I'm gonna go over.
I'm going to go under here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go over. I'm feeling good about Ohio State's defense forcing a couple. On top of that, we have nothing but inexperienced quarterbacks in this game. I'm gonna go over.
Yeah, I like what I'm seeing here. Indiana has 2 turnovers. Ohio State has 0. Something like that. Yes.
Homer.
All right. Tommy, Steele, and Hicks tackles. So Tommy, Steele, and Hicks, all 3 tackles combined for 25.5.
It's a lot.
Seems like a lot. And I kind of same thing with, talked about Trey Sermon. Trey Henderson. Wow, I don't know why I went there. Henderson with 144.5 yards of scrimmage there. I think it's going to be the same thing with Tommy Steele and Hicks being in the game all game here to get tackles for 25.5. I'm going to go under. I think there's going to be more players in to get more tackles.
And I think we also need to talk about like the distinct possibility that Indiana might not have a ton of offensive plays in this game. Maybe. If the defense is playing as well as we want them to, and if the offense is playing as well as we want them to, they could be a really heavy time of possession swing on Ohio State side, which just leads to a lack of opportunities to rack up defensive stats. So what? You'd have to get 26. So what is that? That'd be 7. Now 8. Like what? 9 for 2 of them. 8 for a third. Feels like a lot. I'm gonna go under.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I know. Doing math live. By the way, for doing live podcast math, that wasn't bad. Y'all have no idea. Were you trying to do that with a camera and a microphone on you? It wasn't bad.
Eh. All right. Catches. Oh, yep. Catches by Ohio State. True freshman at 3.5. I'm going to go over with this
Appreciated
one.
spikes.
I'm going to go over with 3.5 catches for freshmen here. So, you got Carnell Tate. I think you're going to see I think you'll see a lot of action from him in here. Brandon Ennis, I think you're going to see some good play time in here as well. Maybe Noah Rogers late in there. Yeah, I think we'll see more than 3 catches from this incoming freshman team here, or freshman wide receivers.
Don't forget about Thurman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right.
Thurman at tight end, I think within the realm of possibility gets a catch. And again, I think Day's going to try and get his 2 quarterbacks some game experience, but that doesn't mean you have to leave your wide receivers out there all game. So I think that there's a decent possibility that they're throwing later in this game than they would be if, CJ Stroud was still the quarterback, which I think, lends to the possibility that, you see some freshman catches for sure.
Yep. So you're going over as well?
Yes. Yes, I am.
All right. Last one is Ibuka, Fleming, and Cade Stover touchdowns at 1.5. I'll go over with this one here. That mentioned, I think the tight end will get some good catches here in Ohio State, especially early on in the season. Love deep in the red zone, throwing it to the tight ends there to get their 1-2 touchdowns in September. Only in September here.
Only in September. Month of the tight end.
And then adding in there Ibuka and Fleming getting a touchdown somewhere in there too. Yeah, I'll take the over.
Yeah, I think Ibuka is Ibuka's going to get a touchdown in this game. Ibuka's going to get a touchdown in this game. Go ahead and just write that down. And the possibility that either Fleming or Stover or a second for Ibuka happen are decently high. A return touchdown. Worth noting that Austin does not clarify what types of touchdowns. So if Emeka Kyle returns a kick, a punt.
Don't get my hopes up. Don't get my hopes up.
If you're new here, Kyle's been dying on this special teams touchdown drought. Which Kyle it's Jaden Marshall still, right?
It is.
Yeah. Is it 2015? Since the last time there was a punt or kick return touchdown, and it's killing Kyle.
2014 is when Jalen Marshall returned a punt return touchdown against Indiana in 2014.
Oh,
if you remember, that was the year. That was the year when Ohio State, when Indiana made it really close, and then Jalen Marshall just went off and I think he had 3 touchdowns in that game, including one of them was a punt return touchdown.
A punt return, a reception, and a throw? Or was it a run? But it was 3 touchdowns. Was it an end around? So it was a rush? Maybe. A rush, a reception, and a return? Is that what it was? I know that there was not just 3 touchdowns, but 3 touchdowns, all 3 separate categories.
And then the last time Ohio State had a kickoff return touchdown.
The throw was in the UFL, you think?
Yeah.
That's a possibility.
Last time Ohio State had a kickoff return touchdown was in 2010 with Jordan Hall against Michigan.
Yikes. All right, Kyle, we said we wanted to try and keep Know Your Enemy to 40 minutes. We're already creeping up on 45, so let's snag a couple... Let's snag a couple Ask Sloopcast questions and then head on out.
Sure. Buckeye Esquire here asks, if it's a blowout, which 2 players, one on offense, one on defense, are you going to focus on for garbage time?
Assuming that Ohio State is still going to have their I think that the quarterbacks are going to be out there for a long time. Regardless of what the score looks like, one of the two quarterbacks will be out there for a long time. And if the quarterbacks are out there, then the starting offensive line is going to be out there. That's where my eyes are going to be all game.
If Austin was in here, he'd love my answer here. I'm going to go with Evan Pryor.
I don't think you have to wait till garbage time to see Evan Pryor.
I would love to see Evan Pryor staying healthy and seeing what he can do. Because when you seen him healthy, man, he is lights out, just fantastic with the ball in his hand. So I'll go with Evan Pryor on the offensive side, and then on the defensive side, let's go with I think we'll see a lot of him in the during the game here, but I'm going to go with Sonny Styles. I think we'll see a lot of him during the game. Yeah. I think in garbage time, I'd like to really see him in one of the main safety positions there and see how well he does.
Yeah, I agree. Another question.
All right. Another question here. Over under.
This one of Nomads.
Actually, yeah, one of Nomads here. Actually, I like this one here. Does Styles get a turnover in this game?
INT or forced fumble. Not recovered, forced.
How about this? He said Styles. He doesn't say which one or both.
And I assume that the plural of Styles is Styles.
Yes.
I think it's difficult to predict. It's difficult to predict a turnover for an individual player, any individual player, no matter how good they are. So I'm going to say no. But like, if I was actually betting money on it, I'd say no.
Yeah, just because we're on Ohio State podcast, I'm going to say yes. He gets a turnover.
There you go. I'll play into the crowd.
All right. All right. One last one here. Nomad asks, will there be a Ohio State fullback touchdown against Indiana?
I mean, there are not even any fullbacks on the team, technically.
No. So the answer is no.
But if it's a tight end lined up at fullback, I'd say that counts. But I also still say no.
Yep. All right. I think those are all the questions we can answer right now. So we'll kick it off to Jared to end us off here.
Everyone come join the Discord server. We are in full swing. Our gambling bot is up and live. These are all fictitious coins. Just to be clear, there's no actual money on the line, but there's a whole lot of bragging rights. Our sloot picks are live. If you want to join our sloot picks, our online CBS Pick'em pool, you can do that. You can find all of the info in the Discord server. And we have 5 new t-shirt designs in the Sloopcast store, merch.thesloopcast.com. Fictitious. Yes. No, there's no money. Kyle, do you have anything in Kyle's Corner?
Oh, since our last recording just a couple of days ago, I'll just reiterate from our Monday episode here. Best prayers and best of and all the wishes and luck to Sammy Sasso and his recovery.
Yeah. Co-sign and agree. All right. Tonight's ending music will be brought to you by the Raging Nathans. They're a punk band from Dayton or Cincinnati. I forget which. I think it's Dayton, but if you told me if it was Cincinnati, I'd believe you. So with all that being said, I'd like to encourage everyone to drink local beer, listen to local music, and of course, support your local podcasters. Once again, these are the Raging Nathans.